I get it on? Huh?
I mean, these are other speakers?
I don't know. I hope so. I'd like to welcome you here today, and momentarily the honorees for the 2014 International Women's Day celebration will enter the room, and as you all know, we are celebrating women in law enforcement. And ladies, I'd like to ask you to please remain standing. And ladies and gentlemen, would the rest of you please rise for the Rhode Island State Police Honor Guard and presentation of the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome to the podium Rhode Island State Police Trooper Amanda Bresniak for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Forward
Ladies and gentlemen, honorees, would you please be seated? I would like to welcome to the podium my good friend, John Baxter, a fellow Pawtucketite and the reading clerk for the Rhode Island Senate, who will read a proclamation from the governor of the state of Rhode Island. John.
Thank you, Senator. Welcome. State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantation's gubernatorial proclamation honoring International Women's Day. Whereas International Women's Day has been observed since the early 1900s, at a time when women's oppression and inequality was spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. And whereas the first National Women's Day was observed in the United States on February 28, 1909, in honor of the 1908 garment workers' strike in New York City, where women protested and demanded shorter hours, better pay, and voting rights. And whereas the first countries to honor International Women's Day in 1911 were Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland, where together more than 1 million women and men attended International Women's Day rallies campaigning for women's rights to work, vote, to hold public office, and to end discrimination in general. And whereas on March 25, 1911, only a week after these international rallies, a disastrous event known as the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire, which took the lives of more than 140 women in New York City, most of whom were Italian and Jewish immigrants. And whereas in 1914, on the eve of World War I, International Women's Day became recognized worldwide on March 8th. And whereas since then, March 8th has remained the day on which International Women's Day is celebrated in the United States and worldwide, and this year marks the 100th anniversary of International Women's Day. And now, therefore, I, Lincoln D. Chafee, Governor of the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, do hereby proclaim March 8, 2014 as International Women's Day in Rhode Island and encourage all state residents to join me in recognizing the importance of this day. Given under my hand and the Great Seal of the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations this 6th day of March 2014, Lincoln D. Chafee, Governor.
Thank you so much, John. So good afternoon again and welcome. I want to thank my colleague in government, Speaker Pro Tem, Representative Elaine Coderre, for co-hosting this event with me. We both wish all of you a very happy International Women's Day. And we welcome you to the beautifully ornate stateroom to celebrate the second annual celebration of International Women's Day. Last year, we honored the highest-ranking women in each of the branches of government. And this year, ladies, we honor you, the highest-ranking or longest-serving women in the police departments throughout the state of Rhode Island, along with other special honorees. As the governor said in his proclamation, International Women's Day has been celebrated throughout Europe and the United States since the early 1900s, and I realized when I lived for a brief period in Spain that it was celebrated actually much more vehemently, if you will, in Europe than it was in America. And when I was elected to the Senate, I decided I wanted to change that, and I wanted to host a celebration here of International Women's Day in the state of Rhode Island in our very own State House. So today, we gather in solidarity with others throughout the world in countries as diverse as Afghanistan, Egypt, and Haiti to celebrate women's achievement and to demand full equality, politically, economically, and socially. And if you wonder if we still need to, quote, demand full equality, let me remind us that white women still earn 80 cents on the white man's dollar, African American women fare less well, earning only 64 cents for every man's dollar, and Latino women only 53 cents. And let me also remind us that we obviously make up 50% of the United States population, but we comprise only 25% of the United States Supreme Court, only 20% of the United States Senate, 18% of the United States House of Representatives, and only 10% of the nation's governors are women. And of course, 0% of our executive branch, meaning that we have never had a president or a vice president as a woman. So although we are here today to honor all of you, women in law enforcement, part of the point of International Women's Day is for us to look abroad and join hands with our sisters, Globalism is upon us, and the world has gotten much smaller, especially with the advent of social media and communications. Today, we see clearly the reality of our sisters in other countries like never before. There are parts of the world where women still die in childbirth, where girls are abandoned in favor of boys, and where young women are sold off into marriage or, worse yet, sexual slavery. So we commit here today to the fight for equality, dignity, and human rights for all, hoping that the next wave of feminism soon embraces Africa, Asia, and the Arab world. But locally, here on the home front, we gather today to honor you, 25 true pioneers, women who have shattered a particularly formidable glass ceiling. And to paraphrase Hillary Clinton, thanks to all of you and the brave female police officers who came before you, that glass ceiling is now shattered, and the light is shining through like never before, filling us all with the hope and the sure knowledge that the path ahead will be a little easier for those who follow you. We are so proud of all of you, of our honorees. One woman police officer reported to me that the road was not always easy. She said that she reported to a police department, which shall remain nameless, in the state of Rhode Island in the late 1970s and asked to apply to their academy. And she was told, and I quote, "Get the blank out, we don't hire women." But women continued to apply to the police academies throughout the 1970s, and the brave ones persevered. I can only imagine their experiences in the academies and on the job. I interviewed many, and I heard stories that their male counterparts oftentimes did not want to be their partners, that they were sometimes ridiculed and reportedly also sexually harassed. But women hung in there, and today all of you are an integral part of most police departments in the state of Rhode Island. And I say most because as I organized this event this year along with my co-host, we realized that not all police departments in the state have any women on the force. So we hope that the future will be better and that the path that all of you have blazed will make sure that in the coming years, every police department is representative and that there are women on each and every force. And we turn now to you, our honorees. Ladies and gentlemen, we all owe these brave women a tremendous debt of gratitude. For in your accomplishment lies our promise. I remind us all that a woman never stands taller than when she stoops to help another woman or when she stops to honor one. Which brings me to our first honoree. And ladies and gentlemen, there are many dignitaries in the room, and I will probably get myself in trouble trying to recognize and name a few, but I know that my fearless Senate President, Teresa Paiva-Weed, is here. Thank you very much, Madam President. I know how busy you are, and I appreciate you being here with us. And of course, we have the Attorney General of the State of Rhode Island, Peter Kilmartin. And I'll say a few more, but I'll ask you to hold your applause until the end. But I see, of course, our General Treasurer, and I want to let you know that the gifts for today's honorees, and we will be doing that ceremony, have been generously donated by Gina Raimondo, and they are a crystal-etched globe in honor as a symbol of International Women's Day. So thank you, Ms. Raimondo, for that. I see also my Senate colleague, Senator Lombardi. I see Senator Cool-Rumsey, Senator Gail Golden, and again, I'm always loath to do that because I will miss some. And I also saw that we have some of the members of the judiciary who we honored last year. I saw the Chief Justice of the Superior Court, Alice Gibney, was with us, as well as the Chief Judge of the District Court, Jean LaFazia. So thank you all for being part of this ceremony today to laud and honor women in law enforcement. So, as I said, that does bring us to our first honoree. And ladies and gentlemen, our first honoree is Arlene Violet, our nation's first female Attorney General. Now, that election was one major crack in the proverbial glass ceiling. Ladies and gentlemen, I must admit that I have always loved Arlene Violet. I remember meeting her when I was just out of college and I was doing domestic violence prevention work, and she had just been elected Attorney General. She agreed to meet with our young fledgling domestic violence group, and of course she was smart and prepared, and she's always knowledgeable and helpful. But what I remember most about her was her kindness and her indomitable spirit. She is a native Rhode Islander, graduating from Salve Regina University and Boston College School of Law. She was a sister, I love this detail too, she was a Sister of Mercy for 23 years, working in the inner city of Providence on behalf of the poor. Her election as the first female Attorney General earned her a place in a book entitled The 50 Most Influential Women in Law, alongside none other than Hillary Rodham Clinton, Supreme Court Justices Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And after leaving office, Arlene took to the airways. For years, she's been a top talk show host and has been selected one of the top 100 talk show hosts in the country, earning her a spot in the inaugural class of the Rhode Island Radio Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, the first female Attorney General in the United States of America, Arlene Violet.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I used to get asked very frequently how I liked being the only female Attorney General, along with my 49 brother Attorneys General. And I used to say, I love it. There's never a line at the ladies' room. I want to thank you very much, and Representative, for this honor. I certainly feel privileged being here today. You know, back in the mid-'80s, we had 3 women in law enforcement back in those days. And I know Peter shares, I'm sure, the same sentiment that I have about the job of Attorney General, and it is this. You get to work with the finest people in the world. Back then, 99% were men, and looking at the honorees here, what a privilege. You're a wow factor. It's fabulous to have so many competent women being promoted in law enforcement. So I am proud to receive this award, but even prouder to be among you. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you, and of course I can't help saying this, my partner in crime, Representative Elaine Coderre.
Thank you all, and thank you, Donna. Thanks for the opportunity to be your co-chair here. Donna and I go way back. In fact, 30 years ago, I ran for state rep from the city of Pawtucket. Donna was a young law student who lived in my district, signed my nomination papers, and worked on my campaign. So anytime Donna calls, I know it's going to be hard work, but a good time to work together. I also would like to certainly praise the honorees today. We need to do this. We need to do this for our daughters. We need to do it for our granddaughters, to show women, yes, it can be done. I certainly applaud all of you, and I'm so pleased to be here today at this event. Thank you.
And for our second honoree, I would call to the podium my good friend, our Attorney General, Peter Kilmartin.
Well, first and foremost, I must say I'm proud to be a successor to Arlene Violet as Attorney General. The one thing I don't like about that is when I have to speak after her, because she always does such a fantastic job, and no one raises the bar higher than she does when it comes to public speaking. And she raises the bar high in so many other areas. It's an honor for me to be here today honoring all women in law enforcement. And I am here to specifically talk about one individual, but I can't ignore a past life, if you will. We talked about 30 years ago. You mentioned, well, it was 30 years ago now I started my career in law enforcement. And back then, I don't think you would have seen an all-woman honor guard come in. In fact, one of the 3 law enforcement officers that General Violet mentioned was Melva Ward in the city of Pawtucket. She was the one who broke that barrier there and really went through hard times early on because of the mindset that was there. But look at today. Look at where we are today here on International Women's Day. I look at Tina Goncalves, a dear friend, captain now in Pawtucket Police, who through the efforts of people like Captain Ward, her path was based on merit and there was no gender bias. She did the job and earned it. Melva Ward earned the job too, but it was a much more difficult path back in those days. You know, I look at the Senate president. She didn't break any glass ceilings. She broke a marble dome. And again, a path setter and a pathfinder. Today, being the Attorney General, I have the honor of presenting the next honoree, who is Stacey Veroni, who's head of the Criminal Division. Stacey started at the AG's office in 1994, the year after she got graduated from law school. Her father, Tony Pyrus, and I served in the legislature at the time, and I remember the pride he had when she joined the Attorney General's office. But Stacey, through merit, smarts, initiative, she took on every aspect of the criminal division. She worked the domestic violence unit, narcotics and organized crime. There's not an area in that office that she wasn't intimately involved with. And now as head of the division, there's not an area in that criminal division that Stacey doesn't have her finger on the pulse of and provides guidance to this day. Not only to some of the senior prosecutors, and I see some of them in the room here now, I see Scott back there and some others, but especially the younger junior prosecutors, many of whom, I'm proud to say, are women, who Stacey helped set that trail for. But she does more than do it in the AG's office. She does training at the police academy. She and I co-share teaching at Providence College. She gets sent out of state to teach rule of law in other parts of the world. Her expertise is literally recognized, not just by her colleagues in the Office of Attorney General in Rhode Island, but amongst my colleagues across the country and through the National Association of Attorneys General.